Welcome and thank you for your commitment to championing youth suicide prevention efforts in your school and community. The goal of this video is to introduce you to the SOS Signs of Suicide Prevention program. As you know, the adolescent years can be difficult and stressful. The SOS program is designed to teach both students and adults the difference between normal development and what may be a more serious mental health issue. We are reaching out to you, a trusted adult in your school and community, to give you an overview of what this program aims to do, as well as assist you in recognizing the signs of depression and suicide, and how to respond effectively to students. The seriousness of this issue in schools becomes clear when you look at the facts.
People have to understand that thinking about suicide or feeling suicidal is an indication that there is an underlying illness. That illness is usually depression, which is treatable.
You can recognize depression because it's a change in the teen's normal behavior. So for a teen who used to enjoy certain activities, if that teen no longer enjoys those activities or decides to withdraw, that can be an indicator. But mostly you're looking for change and symptoms that persist for 2 weeks or longer.
More than 90% of youth who die by suicide have a diagnosable mental disorder, most likely depression and/or substance abuse, which are treatable. Alarmingly, 80% of youth with mental illness are not identified or receiving services. Most people are uncomfortable with the topic of suicide. As a result, there is a tendency for people to avoid communicating openly about this preventable issue. But it's time to start talking about it. Half of all mental health disorders start by the age of 14.
What's great about the SOS program is that it champions the youth suicide prevention efforts. It's a universal approach, and it offers students a depression checkup and also the necessary tools that they need to seek help.
Our goal is to help students recognize signs of depression and suicide, along with appropriate steps to get help. The purpose of this program is not to tell whether students are depressed, but rather inform them about whether they or their friends may have symptoms that need further evaluation. Through the SOS program, school staff, students, and parents will learn about depression, suicide, and related risk factors with emphasis on a simple help-seeking acronym: ACT. Acknowledge that your friend has a problem. Express that you care. Tell a trusted adult.
I couldn't even get out of bed. I just felt so hopeless.
One of the main benefits of the SOS program is that it gives you a comprehensive understanding of the warning signs of depression and suicide. These warning signs are more prevalent than you might think.
The most important warning signs that a student needs help is something that might be different. Is the student having trouble eating or sleeping? Or are they irritable or moody? Or are they happy one day and sad the next? It's really important to look at what's different and what might be changing in their lives that's not normal.
It's pretty typical when students come into the office and talk about their depression that they'll say things like they are not sleeping the way that they used to, their appetite has changed, they're not interested in the same things anymore.
The factors and warning signs that we see with students who are more at risk of suicide or depression include a history of abuse, use of drugs and alcohol, a history of mental illness, changes in behavior, changes in affect, and involvement with the law.
Other factors that we look for in regards to some warning signs is isolation, impulsive aggressive behavior, previous suicide attempts, access to lethal weapons, for example guns, or even exposure to suicidal behaviors in others.
Another factor that we look for is family history. A youth can be more at risk if they've had another member of their family deal with depression or any other kind of mental illness. We also look for a teen who has dealt with loss. Any significant loss can put them at risk as well.
One particular group that I'm concerned with that's at high risk of suicide is students who are struggling with their sexual orientation, whether they're lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning. Students that are concerned with this have this fear of being rejected by their family and friends and their community.
I had so many people looking out for me. It just took me a while to realize it.
Some students have a vast support network, while others don't. Think about the people you turn to when you're feeling down. It's common for all of us to want to rely on the people we trust. Support is one of the major elements in what we call protective factors. Students who have a number of protective factors in their lives are less likely to consider suicide.
One of the leading risk factors for suicide is untreated depression. So if you are a young person who's not getting treated, you have more of a likelihood of going to these extreme measures to deal with the pain that you may be feeling. That's why it's so important and it's so crucial for people to get treatment. It can be a mixture of talk therapy, medication, alternative methods, but it's very important to get these issues addressed.
When students participate in the SOS program, they view an educational DVD followed by group discussion. The aim is to create a supportive and responsive atmosphere to recognize the warning signs for those youth who may be at risk and how to seek help. The following is a clip from the high school Friends for Life DVD.
Alyssa was a very energetic, lots of times happy child that really enjoyed life.
She was a bright, beautiful girl who was full of life. She had two younger siblings that looked up to her and adored her, two loving parents. She walked into a room and she really lit up the whole room. She had an unbelievable personality. There were a lot of good things in Alyssa's life, but Alyssa also experienced a lot of hardships in the short period of time that she was here. She endured a lot for somebody so young.
When Alyssa was in 5th or 6th grade, she was raped by one of her family friends. And, you know, I think that was a definite turning point in her life. For the next few years, it was kind of a downward slope.
She was bullied a lot and she struggled with her self-esteem and she cared a lot about what others thought, and she got down easily when people weren't nice, and I just think as time went on she couldn't take it. It was built up year after year after year.
Kids can be mean and cruel and terrible people, and you know, maybe it was just a snowball effect that everyone just started harassing her.
There were warning signs prior to her being diagnosed with depression. She acted out. She had a lot of anger in her to the point where it was just not normal behavior. You know, making poor decisions and choices, compromising herself and her safety, and all of these were warning signs.
She was clearly depressed and down, and she was sad a lot of crying.
I'll never forget this. When I walked into the door of her English classroom, the teacher had all the writings up on the wall, and Alyssa had the title of her paper was, "My Life Makes Me Want to Cry." So these were all warning signs.
In 7th grade, Alyssa would verbalize to me that she wanted to end her life, and she would show me the cuts on her wrists and would, you know, ask me if I would attend her funeral if she did kill herself.
She would say, "I want to kill myself. I just want this to be over."
Things like that. We were so young, and I had never heard anyone talk like that before, and obviously I took it seriously, but I was young enough that, you know, it was hard to know what to do and what to say to her and who to talk to.
When I first heard about Alyssa's passing, the principal said that Alyssa had passed. I knew immediately. It's so difficult to cope with it since your friend taking her own life, because you're left beating yourself up.
Looking back, I do not think I took the situation serious enough.
Maybe I didn't take it seriously enough. I mean, I guess I obviously didn't if she's gone.
I wish that I had taken Alyssa to someone I trusted and shared with them what she had told me and not kept it inside.
In an effort to represent a broad spectrum of issues that teens face, the DVD incorporates problems ranging from breakups to academic pressures to alcohol use. They also address changes one might notice in a friend's behavior. Each vignette shows both the right and wrong way to handle each situation. The vignette you're about to see, taken from our high school video, illustrates an instance of school bullying.
Yeah, so I want to go to this one.
Hey man, it's Friday. You going to that party tonight? Yeah, boy. Oh, look, it's Jason. Let's get him. Whoa, Jason! Watch where you're going, freak boy. This kid's such a tool. Look. He's got a little briefcase for a backpack, man. Nice bag. Hey, who do you think you are, man, huh?
No. Don't worry about it. I'll see you later.
Hey, don't worry about them. They're just a bunch of losers.
Doesn't really matter much because I'm taking them with me.
What do you mean?
Don't be hanging around with them. I really don't want to see you getting hurt.
Did you just hear what he said?
Yeah.
He sounded like he was planning on killing them and then killing himself.
He's just blowing off steam. Like, everyone's mean to him.
I mean, I don't even know why. He's not even a bad guy. He's just kind of awkward, but he really did sound like he was going to flip out.
You know, sometimes my dad goes hunting with Jason's dad, and I once heard my dad tell my mom they've got a lot of guns in that house.
Whatever, let's not overreact. We're going to be late for class and we have that test.
Oh my god, that test.
Wait a minute. He might be serious.
We've got to do something to help.
Hey, don't worry about them. They're just a bunch of losers.
Thanks, but it really doesn't matter much because I'm taking them with me.
What do you mean?
Never mind. Just please don't hang out with them. I really don't want to see you get hurt.
Jason, I know you feel really bad, but you're really starting to scare me. Maybe you should talk to someone.
Sure.
Did you just hear what he said?
Yeah.
He sounded like he was planning on killing them and then killing himself.
He's just blowing off steam. Like, everyone's mean to him.
I don't even know why. He's not a bad guy. He's kind of awkward, but he just sounded really desperate.
Well, I know my dad goes hunting with his dad sometimes, and I once heard him tell my mom that they got a lot of guns in that house.
I hope we're not freaking out about this. It just really scares me.
But we don't want to, like, overreact and get him into trouble for no reason.
You know what? We have to say something. He sounded so desperate.
You're right. Let's go to the nurse's office. We could talk to them and call my dad.
Okay.
The ACT message is an incredibly powerful acronym. The SOS program teaches students the letters ACT, acknowledge, care, and tell. Acknowledging that a student or a friend is suffering from either depression or showing signs of suicide is the very first step.
The C stands for care. Let your friend know that you do truly care about them. And the T is to tell a trusted adult. And it's okay to tell a trusted adult, even if your friend gets upset, because it's better to, save a life in any situation. You can't own these problems, you can't fix these problems. You need to get professionals more involved.
So these three letters are so important, and it's such a great method to just bring into the classroom and help students really understand what it is they're supposed to do.
I didn't know how to help myself. What I really wanted was just someone to listen to me.
After students view the video and participate in a classroom discussion, they may fill out a screening form. This screening does not diagnose depression, but indicates the presence or absence of symptoms consistent with suicide or depression. Regardless of whether your school uses the screening form, all students will be given the opportunity to indicate whether they would like to speak with someone following the program, either about themselves or a friend. It's important that all school staff know how to respond to students who request help or are exhibiting warning signs.
If a student has disclosed the need for help to a school staff member, that staff member should not leave the student alone. They should make sure to listen and be open and allow the student to feel comfortable with sharing their feelings. And they should definitely avoid making the student feel embarrassed or ashamed about how they feel.
Offering encouragement to a student who is depressed or showing signs of suicide is incredibly important. A lot of times we are the only person that might be encouraging them, might be supporting them, offering them help. And for confidentiality, a student that is showing signs of suicide, their safety comes first. So we can never promise confidentiality to a student. Every school district has its own protocol around crisis. So knowing what that protocol is incredibly important for any professional in the building to know. But letting the student know what the steps are that will be taken after they disclose is important as well.
When our students are referred down to the office, immediately we contact the parents. You know, we respect the parents as the primary caregiver and the primary educator, and with that conversation, the parents are also given multiple numbers of community resources, and we follow up with those students and with those parents.
So parents, if you are worried about your son or daughter, you can engage your son or daughter's school. You can get their physician, their mental health clinician involved, and you can also access resources that are available, such as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's available 24/7, and you can call them and they can help.
Outside of school, there were people who I could really trust. They understood where all this pain was coming from.
Schools must make sure they're prepared to help students in need. It's crucial that all school personnel be informed of the warning signs and how to respond. Community mental health services provide another important resource.
When helping a student, it's important to strike a balance between responding and overreacting. Only a mental health professional can diagnose depression. To ensure that a student gets help,